Right. We'll get into that in a second. Oh man. Oh God. I hate doing these podcasts. Can we ever talk about a win? I'm going to do some random stuff before that just to kind of lighten the mood because I know it's dark. It's silver and black out there in Vegas, but it's more black than silver. This is the Silver and Zach podcast with Sean O'Connell on Twitter at Real OC Sports. I'm at Zak Sports, ZAK Sports. Before we get to that, Sean, as you know, I've been doing this thing with duos, Thunder and Lightning and whatnot, Ebony and Ivory. For this week's episode, Sean, we're going to do Perfect Strangers. Do you remember that 1980s, 1990s sitcom?
I'm Googling it right now because I don't.
Okay, Balky Bartakamis. Balky. Yes. And Larry Appleton. I think you're the Larry and I'm the Balky here, but you can fight me back if you want. You can be the Balky if you want, but I think you're more of like the straight-laced, married, 2 kids, puts his nose to the grindstone, goes off to the salt mines, as my father would say, although you love your job. You basically get paid to talk about sports. But I think you're more the Larry, and I'm more of like the wild card joker, the court jester, if you will. So I think I'd be the Balky in this duo.
Yeah, you are definitely the Balky.
And then my other question is, do you golf?
No.
Never? Like never picked up a club?
No, I've picked up a club. I get talked into golfing by all my old high school buddies about once a year.
Okay.
And obviously golf is a craft that requires more dedication and focus than the once yearly outing. Yeah, it also requires things like patience and appreciation for the finer things in life.
Yeah.
Comfort in the upper crust of society and a bunch of things that I just generally don't vibe with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only reason why I'm drawn towards golf, number one, shout out to Steve DiNardo, an executive at Intercom, when I was at 95.7, he told me like half of his business is done on the golf course. So he's like, just be decent. Just go out there because it's all networking. You get opportunities when you golf. But also, you and I, about the same age, damn near 40, it's a sport that you can play in your elder years. I mean, you can't go and play a pickup tackle football game or, maybe soccer. Basketball, you can still get away with it a little bit. Softball, if you're old, you can't do fast pitch, but you can do slow pitch softball, I suppose. But golf is really a sport that you can age into. You can play it till you're 80.
Yes. And you're making all the cases that everyone makes, right? Like, I've been told many, many times, because I'm not shy when I'm on the radio being like, yeah, golf's not my thing. I don't like golf. And people will, like, take you aside, and they'll do that thing where they grab you kind of like right above the elbow. Hey, guy, come here. Hey, you really can't say that about golf because people don't like hearing that you don't like golf and that golf is boring. You're never going to get an opportunity to do shows that they want you to talk about golf. A lot of business is done on a golf course. And I don't dispute that any of that is true. I just don't care. I don't care.
Okay. I mean, fair enough. I hear what you're saying, but I feel like it's something that you should just get into for the aforementioned reasons that you just gave, but also because of the age thing, Sean. Like, you and I were talking before I started recording, and you were talking about coming out to the Bay for a weekend. I live right next to Tilden Park Golf Course. Gorgeous course. And me and you can go out there as 40-year-olds. I'm still 39. I've got like 11 more months. But we can go out there as damn near 40-year-olds and enjoy ourselves and play golf and whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's just I hear what you're saying. It's not like I love the sport. I used to watch it on Christmas Eve because I was so excited for Christmas. I used to watch it on Christmas Eve on a VHS tape. That's how old I am. And I would watch it to be able to go to sleep because I was so excited for Christmas I couldn't sleep. I'd put golf on. I was out like a light. So I hear what you're saying, but I feel like it's something you need to start embracing as you get older, OC.
Yeah, I know people say this, but there's plenty of old man sports that you can be involved in, right? Pickleball is becoming massively popular in the United States of America.
Never played.
Oh, you would love pickleball. Pickleball is an old man sport for sure.
Cornhole. I love cornhole. You know what I played? I played.
That's not an old man sport. Okay, you can play it when you're old. but that's not for old people. Cornhole is like for frat parties and stuff and barbecues. That's not what old men are playing. Okay.
Well, my grandfather was born in Italy, so I've played a lot of bocce ball. Horseshoes is fun. I was in Michigan visiting my dad's best friend, and I played foaling, which is bowling. They set up like normal pins, and then you throw a football at it to knock them down. That's great. An old man sport. Although my arm was sore the next day.
Have you ever played Cube? You know what Cube is?
No, what's that?
It's like a Scandinavian game where it's kind of like a lawn game. You got like, I don't know, like they're little wood castles that you set up, and you throw the other wood at them.
Okay.
And you try to knock them over. And once you knock them over, you stack them on top so the target gets bigger. So the more you knock over, the target gets bigger, the easier it gets. So the other team gets far behind. Cube is fun. Like Cube, you can play. Jiu-jitsu is something you can do until you're very old. The red belts, right? The guys who can do jiu-jitsu for 50 plus years, they're like elevated. They're like, pedestal status. Jiu-jitsu is something your body will do forever and ever. Golf, God bless it, right? Golf has destroyed the body of Tiger Woods. He's the best one to ever do it.
That's true.
He's had a knee replacement.
Yeah.
Back. His hips are bad.
For sure.
Don't tell me golf is the thing you want to do until you're 1,000 years old. All right, I don't care.
All right, fine. Well, whatever. I'm gonna change your mind on that when you come out here. We're gonna go to Tilden. We're gonna have a good time. I'm gonna try to change your mind on that. All right, we did enough BS. Trying to lighten the mood. It's obviously I don't know what to say. OC, do you know how many 17, not 7 OC, not 10 OC, not 14 OC, and I don't know why I sound like a teenager that just hit puberty. Do you know how many 17-point leads the Raiders have blown this year alone, and we're in week 9?
3.
3! One of those in a year will sicken your soul. 2 of those, you got to be soul searching. 3 of those, I'm sorry, OC, I'm saying it now. I'm making my first take, Stephen A. Smith, whatever the bleep you want to call it. McDaniels, bye-bye. Gotta go. That is a coaching thing. Sorry. Play calling, whatever. Clean house. And how many, I meant to look this up before the cast, OC, my apologies. How many head coaches and different offensive and defensive coordinators has Derek Carr had since he was drafted by the Raiders? This is ridiculous, but I'm calling for it again. Get him the hell out of there, and you know who I'm going for? Give him all the money in the world, like you did with John Gruden, who ruined it because of past emails, like you did with McDaniels coming from New England. But throw all your money, it's Vegas, all your chips in the middle of the table, and go get Sean. Not you, Sean. No. The Saints coach.
Sean Payton is going to come?
Yes.
Sean Payton's going to come to Las Vegas?
Yes.
Maybe. I don't hate that idea one bit.
This has got to be on coaching, OC. You explained to me how you blow 3. We're damn near at the halfway mark. They could blow another 17-point lead. I believe that they've already matched the record. If they do it again, they're going to break the record. That's all on coaching.
Don't stop if they could do it one more time. All right? If they stay on this pace, they'll have 6 17-point leads blown.
It's not funny, man. Look, Devontae Adams looked worth every single thing that you gave up, both in contract and picks to get him. They looked amazing in the beginning, and then all of a sudden, second half, that's coaching. I'm sorry. The talent is there.
I like that you unburden yourself of this angst. It's important that you get all of this off your chest. The real problem, like the 17-point lead.
Blown, I feel better now.
The 20-point leads blown. Like, you're right. That's sincerely a problem for any team at any level. That should not happen, right? It's especially egregious when you are wasting quality performances, right? It's damaging to the culture, to the motivation, to the future work ethic potentially. When you're somebody, your star player in this case, right? Devontae Adams is hooking up with his old college teammate and is going for 150 yards and a couple of tutties, and he's just like, yes. You need to have those performances validated with wins. This is the doom of Barry Sanders, right? This is why guys end up retiring early, because they play for teams where no matter how well they perform, how well they play, it doesn't translate into victories, into success, into meaningful postseason runs. That's a huge problem. And if the Raiders are going to be that under McDaniels, then you're right. Gots to go. You can't excuse this. You can't. Once in a year, you're right. Fell flat after half. Other team made the adjustments they needed to make. Other team's just really damn good. You know, you can never count the Chiefs out of a game. This is the Jacksonville Jaguars that did this to you. It's Jacksonville.
No, I know. Look, OC, it's hard for me to go anywhere other than coaching. Whether it's making sure you remind the players, hey, we're up 17, but we have a second half to go. Whether it's the play calling, whatever the hell happened between Derek Carr and Devontae Adams looking unstoppable in the first half to him having one catch for no yards in the second half when you get shut out. I'm sorry. The talent is there. That is not a talent thing. That is a coaching thing. And I know it's early. First year, I don't even know I'm sure he signed a 5-year, whatever, at least $5 million, a 5-year, $25 million contract. I don't even remember the numbers. Whatever it is, I'm done. I'm done with him as a head coach. He failed in Denver. You thought going back to New England and succeeding the way that he did year, like a damn near a decade, right? What was it? 2007 or something? That when Tebow was there, whatever. I don't know the numbers and I don't know all the specifics, but my point is I'm already done here. He had a closed door meeting with Mark Davis after last week when they got shut out by the Saints. Now you get shut out in the second half against the lowly Jacksonville Jaguars? You got to go. Get him out of there and get Sean. I'm going to print a T-shirt out. Get Sean. Hashtag get Sean. Not you, O'Connell. Peyton. Get Sean. Hashtag get Sean. It's pathetic. The Raiders are way better than their record. 2-6?
They're not going to fire him because he's only making about $1 million a year.
Is that true?
According to Sports Track, yeah.
He's got to be the lowest paid head coach in the league. Are you sure about that?
I'm doing some more research because this is one of the things that's great about doing shows with you is you just throw out things.
Yeah, I know.
Right? And then I'm like, wait a second, is that true? I become your fact checker.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's why we need like a producer. Like they have people behind the screen for that.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
This is like, it's a very Dan Patrick thing. He'll just be like, I think he's making about $900 million a year. McLovin?
Exactly.
Fritzy, get the number.
No, but nobody signs a contract for $1 million to coach these days. It's always at least 5. I know McVay's getting like 9 or 10 in LA.
That's like a high school coach in Texas salary or something.
Yeah, I'm reading this article. The Raiders vowed to play better than last week's 24-0 debacle at the Saints. And for the first 30 minutes, they mostly dominated Jacksonville. Carr completed 16 of 21 passes for 223 yards with 2 touchdowns, both to Adams. Adams caught 9 passes for $146 in the first half while lining up all over the field and repeatedly beating single coverage. And then what? That's coaching, Sean. That is coaching. You had it in the first half. You were able to do it in the first half. And I don't know. What did you do at halftime? Did you guys play like a song? Did you just sit there and go, oh, we're good to go? Did you sit on your thumbs? That's coaching. And when it started to unravel, that's coaching there too. Hey, gentlemen, what about the first half when we were dominating? We look like hammered dog bleep right now. It's time to step it up and win this damn game, but no. Up 17-0 on Kansas City in week 5. Lose 30-21. Going for 2 and not getting it. And then Carr, I am like the biggest Carr apologist in the world. You think I'm a bigger Jimmy G apologist? I'm
Yeah.
a bigger Derek Carr apologist. First of all, again, got to look it up, but I'm guessing he's had, for every season he's been in the league, I'm guessing it's damn near a different coach and different coordinator of some sort. Let's say he's been in the league for 9 years. I would guess 7 different versions of that. I think Gruden made it a couple of years or whatever. But I don't blame him at all. And I saw him in the post-game press conference, OC, and he's sitting there and he's going, kind of like you and I before we started recording here, there's a lot of stuff that I want to say that I'm not going to say. It's best for me not to say it here. Because basically, he wanted to call people out. I don't know who specifically. I don't know if that was the coaching staff. I don't know if that was the defense. I don't know if that was the offense. But he wanted to call somebody out, and he didn't because he's smart. He's a Christian man. He's a man of faith. He's a great teammate. He's a great player, competitor, all that good stuff. And he did not want to air out the dirty laundry in front of the press. But you could see it in his face. He wanted to. And God, I wish I had his number so I could ask him who he was talking about. And I bet you it's coaching.
You're probably right. And honestly, well, he's never going to be that guy. You're right. Derek Carr is never going to be that guy.
Nope.
First of all, he hasn't really earned the right to be that guy.
He's pretty damn good, OC.
He's not that good. He's good. You have to be great. You have to be elite to start calling out your coordinators, your head coaches, and especially in the NFL, your teammates. Right?
I think I'm going to push back on that a little bit, just in that I think that you can be above average, which I think he is, and good enough to be a playoff team, which he proved last year, and then a few years ago when he got hurt and couldn't play in the playoff game. I think you could be at that level and call people out, especially when it's as egregious as 3 games blowing a 17-point lead. I think Carr, look, OC, I'm not saying that he's Josh Allen or he's Patrick Mahomes, or I'm not saying he's elite, but I think he's good enough to be able to do that. But he's not that kind of guy. His quote, there is a lot I want to say, but if I'm honest, I don't need to say it here. There are things that will be said. There will be things that need to be addressed and all these things. But I think as a whole, the urgency part of it, after 30 minutes of football, we have to learn that the game is not over. And who is most responsible for making your team understand that the game is not over other than the coaching staff? Get rid of McDaniels. Bring in Peyton. Done with my rant.
Name for me a person in the NFL who calls out publicly or has called out publicly their teammates, their play calling, whatever.
Aaron Rodgers.
Who has a good reputation. Name for me one person who has a good reputation who's done that.
Aaron Rodgers.
Exactly. There's one person. And Aaron Rodgers.
Hang on. Russell Wilson?
Not highly thought of. We've talked about him a lot.
Champ.
And even though he's won Super Bowl, Derek Carr, Russell Wilson has credentials that Derek Carr will never have. And
all right, so you're asking me for a non-Super Bowl winner?
Who has a good reputation, who people talk respectfully about, who people are just like, that's the guy, right? Derek Carr can't call people out publicly. You're not allowed to do it unless you're like Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, who, by the way, isn't playing well enough to be doing it right now himself.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady could do it. Tom Brady has done it, right? But you got to be selective about when you're doing it. If you're Derek Carr and you're putting up, unbelievable career type numbers, and you're just like, hey, look, defense needs to know you got to keep executing. Coaching staff, play calling needs to be more aggressive. We can't figure we're going to coast on 17 points. This is the NFL. You can give up 17-point lead in 5 minutes in this league, right? If he wants to say stuff like that, he better be playing a lot better. The people who call out their teammates are labeled as malcontents, locker room problems, and traded or sent packing or dragged in the media or whatever else. And most of the time, they're divas, right? That's how we tag them. Most of the time, we're like, that's Antonio Brown. That's Chase Claypool, who the Steelers just got rid of for this exact reason, right? People who start pointing fingers at others in an NFL locker room, you better be unbelievable and have your own performance above reproach. And Derek Carr is not at that level. Most people aren't.
I got one for you, but you're right. I mean, and I had to dig deep for this. So, I mean, I guess your point is taken, but I would give you Burrow, Joe Burrow. That would be the one guy. I mean, they got to the Super Bowl, which Carr hasn't even won a playoff game. So you can't really throw him in the same book. But Burrow hasn't won a Super Bowl, but he's called his teammates out before, I think as recently as a week ago, because Chase was out and he was talking about his receivers and blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, that would be the one guy that I would give you, but I'm reaching, and there's not even like a second that I could offer up as an example. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, where are you at? Are you done with McDaniels? I'm done. I am done. I'm sorry. This team went all in getting Devontae Adams. They signed Waller. Jacobs is in a contract year. They have Max Crosby on defense. They signed Chandler Jones. They went all in. This team should not be 2-6.
If McDaniels wants to keep his job, he's going to have to get rid of everyone involved in play calling. And I guess he's self-involved in play calling, so he's not going to get rid of that. He's not going to get rid of himself. But you know how we both worked for people like this, where things aren't going well and you extend your own life cycle by firing everyone underneath you and kind of reshuffling the deck. That's the only thing that's going to keep McDaniels in Vegas for however long, right? And justifiably so. You can't be dropping Crosby into coverage and having him get exposed as he's trying to backpedal into a passing lane. Like, that's not what that guy's for. That's not what he's good at. You shouldn't be asking him to do that. There are certain elite rush ends in the league who you can do that with. Like, Prime Von Miller is a guy who could have played any position on a defense except corner, and you could have let that, like, if you want to do that with him to give a look and confuse a quarterback, sure. That's Crosby. That's not the kind of look you want to put him in ever. So if you're doing that as a defensive coordinator and your team is squandering 17-point lead and you're allowing the Jacksonville Jaguars to march down and score on you and overcome that deficit, then yeah, you're going to have to probably find the unemployment line pretty soon. You're going to be a position coach somewhere else next year. And that's unfortunate. I don't like the whole vibe of being in the media and calling for people's jobs and being like, this guy shouldn't have a job. I don't like doing that. These are human beings with families and all that. But, like, if you're not putting your best players in a position to do what they do best while the game is on the line, you're making poor decisions. And you are at least partially accountable for what's happening to the Raiders. Not once, not twice, but so far this season, at the halfway point 3 times.
Yeah. I mean, I can't go anywhere but the coaching staff. And if I'm Mark Davis, I'm cleaning house. I mean, I don't know what you do GM wise, if you want to really just clear house and get rid of everybody, but I'm bringing Sean Payton in. And if Sean Payton wants to be the GM, God bless him. Hand it over to him, because I don't know where else you're going. I don't know what hotshot head coach college possibility there is. I know the NFL's been going that way with the likes of the Cardinals and the Rams and a bunch of other, different places where college guys have stepped in. But Sean Payton proved that he's a great coach. Obviously, he had Drew Brees, and when Drew Brees started to age, then it went by the wayside. But he's proven that he's a leader. I watch him on, radio shows all the time. He's still watching the game, watching film all the time. He's an analyst, blah, 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 blah. I'm bringing him in. I don't know if you do it. I mean, have an interim head coach for the rest of the year. I mean, this season is basically gone, right? I mean, are we talking about a lost season now? I mean, we were damn near talking about it last week, but is it official?
You've been the one you're the one who throws the life raft to the Raiders.
I did, assuming that they were going to beat the Saints and sorry, edit that out. What minute mark is this? 26:25. Edit out that fucking and that fucking too. Yeah, that's because I thought they were going to beat the fucking Saints and the fucking Jaguars.
Look.
But now, are they going to be favored the rest of the year?
No, look. It's something that you've been trying to cling to, this hope that, no, but look, they can pull this one off. This might
I'm out now. I'm out. You're right, OC. I was clinging. I'm out. I was looking for the life raft.
The last podcast we recorded together, previous to this one, I was like, look, you need to start considering your rebuild strategy.
You're talking about the draft. I know.
And you're like, it's too early in the year to say that. No, it's not, because you look at the way. Go back to week 1 when we were talking about, look what the way this team is built. It's not really built for success. You have some pieces that are skill position players. You like the quarterback, okay, but what about the foundation? What about the bones? What about the spine of this team? And the spine of this team is part of the reason it's a spineless team. When you're up 17 and you can't maintain that proves to your fan base, to your GM, to your owner, to everyone, you're a spineless team.
And that's where I'll counter with this. I agree with you. They are definitely, they lack backbone, no doubt. But that's why I'm putting it on the coaching, because when I look at the personnel, when I look at the roster, when I look at Derek Carr, when I look at Devontae Adams, when I look at Josh Jacobs, when I look at Max Crosby, when I look at the team has it. But they're not maximizing their potential, which then leads me again to the coaching staff. And you're right. I was holding on to it like Wilson, cast away. Okay. And now, you know where I'm at? I'm with Wilson in the water, too many feet away, and I'm crying on my raft.
Okay.
So I'm done. Wilson's gone. The season's over. So that's why now, here's the problem, OC. We're going to be doing this damn as rest of the year. And now what? We're only going to be talking about the offseason for 10 more weeks?
Welcome to being a Raider fan, Zachariah.
Jeez, I'm crying. All righty, part 2 of the Silver and Zach podcast. Yours truly, Zachariah. He is Sean O'Connell on Twitter at Real OCSports. Follow him. Do yourself a favor. Follow me too, please, at Zach Sports, ZAK Sports. OC, I think we exhausted after your, I'm assuming, gorgeous second daughter. Was it the second daughter that woke up, or was it Chubbs?
No, it was the baby. It was the second.
Okay. So I think we exhausted all things Las Vegas Raiders. If there's any kind of bow you want to put on it, we could do it. I have been the optimist that you've made fun of, and now we are seeing, rightfully so, you were making fun of me because my optimism was not justified, and I'm out now. That was just disgusting. Again, a third 17-point lead blown, and it looks like the Raiders' season's lost. Again, they can get some wins here and there or whatever. I guess there's still a possibility that they can squeak in. But if you have nothing else on the Raiders, we can move over to the rest of the NFL.
Well, no, look, never mind the rest of the NFL. This is Silver and Zach. We saw something. You're calling for Coach McDaniel's head, right? You want him done.
Yep, and you know who I want. Hashtag get Sean. And I'm not talking about O'Connell. Get Sean Payton.
Right, I understand. He's going to go coach Lamar Jackson wherever Lamar Jackson ends up. Okay, so
whoa, back up! You can't just throw that out there without giving any sort of context to it. Where are you getting that from? Because John Harbaugh is not going to get fired.
No, but Sean Payton.
You don't think Lamar's going to re-sign with the Ravens?
Sean Payton said something to the effect of, after the season, I'm going to be a free agent, and he's going to be a free agent too. That's interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
He put this on wax?
Yes, it's out there. So.
Okay, good knowledge. Didn't know that.
And probably tampering in some way or another, but maybe not.
Yeah, probably. Well, Miami lost their first-round pick because they were flirting with Tom Brady and Sean Payton. So, yeah. Can't put stuff like that out there. But I think that's elusive enough that he won't get in trouble.
But more importantly, all right, you want McDaniels out.
Yep.
Which is like Frank Reich got fired by the Indianapolis Colts, and then they just, instead of promoting someone who was already on the staff,
they basically hired you.
Correct.
It would be the equivalent of the University of Utah hiring you. I won't go NFL level, but I'm not kidding. Hiring Jeff Saturday off of Get Up and First Take and whatever the hell else he was on is literally the equivalent of me getting a Twitter notification that said the Utah Utes hire Sean O'Connell as their head coach. No coaching experience, just doing some broadcasting. Yeah, played in the game. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it literally is the equivalent.
It's not far off. I mean, Jeff Saturday was a lot better player for Indianapolis than I ever was for Utah, but you're not wrong, right? So this is the most bizarre turn of events we've ever seen in an interim coaching situation. Like,
did you see? Hang on, sorry to interrupt. I just have to throw this in there. Did you see that the play caller that they're going to have on Sundays never called plays either?
Correct.
This is like an SNL skit. They're like, yeah, we took Jeff Saturday after Get Up. Oh yeah, also this guy's going to call a play. Never called a play before in his life.
He's like some 30-year-old dude who 5 years ago, no joke, 5 years ago, he was a graduate assistant coach at Arkansas State University. That's where that, like, if you asked him when he was down there, like cutting tape for the Red Wolves, hey, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I promise you his most ambitious dream came well short of being a play caller for an NFL franchise.
Two things that I love. One, Red Wolves had no idea that was their mascot. And number two, it's not even Arkansas, which is already a horrible football program. It's Arkansas State. Yeah, sure. That guy's going to be caught. I think the good news is they're playing the Raiders, OC. So we should hammer the gambling line for the Raiders to cover.
You know what's super messed up is that even with Jeff Saturday being hired with no prior head coaching experience outside of like 9 games at a Georgia like Christian academy where I think he went 3-6 as the head coach. Okay, so Jeff Saturday coached a high school team and didn't do it well.
Yeah, he was under 500 over 2 seasons. I saw something like that.
Something like that. So he's the head coach with no prior experience, and this play caller cat doesn't really have any experience either. Now maybe he's the next Mike McDaniel. Maybe he's the next Sean McVay. I don't want to cast aspersions on the guy.
Of course not. We don't know. We just know that he hasn't done it before.
But this is where Vegas puts confidence in their very own hometown franchise. Saturday is hired, promotes this cat to call plays, and the line on the game does not move at all. Does not shift a half point in favor of the Raiders.
Wow. Is that an indictment on Vegas?
That's an indictment on the Las Vegas Raiders. The fact that the folks who do this for a living and do an unbelievably good job of setting these lines for a living, they see one of the most bizarre circumstances we have ever seen developing in an NFL interim coaching situation, and they're just like, you know what? We're going to keep that line the same.
That's crazy.
It won't affect whether the Raiders can actually compete here or not.
That's crazy.
Is bonkers.
Yeah. I mean, yes, that's obviously a huge indictment on the Raiders. But again, I mean, I keep going back to it, and I will continue to do it. And I don't know if he'll do it, when he'll do it, but all of this reeks to me, and I guess I'm just going to die on this hill or whatever that phrase is, that I'm a Carr believer. I think that, when he's protected, he throws a beautiful ball. I think he's a great leader. I think he's a competitor. I think all of the good things about Carr. And I know he has, runny feet sometimes, quick feet, happy feet. He gets a little fluttered and he'll throw the ball away or he'll, take a sack. He'll do some things that will irritate the hell out of you. But in general, and again, I'm not putting him in. I think he's very similar to Garoppolo, who I know you and I fight about all the time. But he's one of those guys where he's not going to lose the game for you, but he's not going to throw like 7 touchdowns and win the game for you like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. So I keep defending Carr. It's getting harder and harder to do. You look at his win-loss record, I would point to how many head coaches and coordinators he's had, but it's hard to back Carr right now with his win-loss record over his tenure as a Raider. But I look at this team and I go, Devontae Adams, I go Darren Waller, I go Josh Jacobs, I go improved offensive line. I go got some studs on defense, Crosby. I look at the team and they might not be 9-0 good, but they're certainly not whatever the hell they are, 2-6 bad. I mean, I don't look at that roster and point to anything other than the coaching. And sometimes It's better to get out in front of it, OC. If it's a mistake, if you know it's a mistake, you don't wait longer to fix the problem. You get rid of it right away. And coaching to me is the number one thing.
I don't like the roster for the most part. We talked about this. They gave us a couple of false flags with the way that they were able to compete and win in games that I didn't think they would, perform well in. But coaching, GM, ownership in Las Vegas is never going to change, so that's not even something we need to get into. But look, in the equivalent situation, the Raiders listen to Silver and Zach, and they're like, you know what, this Zachariah Katz, he's onto something. We gotta get rid of our head coach. Who gets the phone call? Who does Mark Davis call? The former Raider who's just like sitting on a set somewhere analyzing football. Who gets the phone call to be the interim head coach? It's got to be Howie Long, right? That's the Jeff Saturday equivalent.
There is no way I'm hiring Howie Long.
No. You're following the Jim Irsay Indianapolis Colts model, okay? You don't get to choose a coach.
Sorry. No, I have to stop you at Howie Long. No, Howie. I would hire Lincoln Kennedy. Hire Lincoln Kennedy.
Lincoln Kennedy, who's doing.
He's not really a. Oh, I got it, Sean. I got it. I never call you Sean, so you know it's important.
Yeah, it's
Bill Romanowski. That is your hire. He's gonna spit in your wide receivers' mouths, a la JJ Stokes. He's gonna rile up everybody. That guy gets me motivated when I listen to him every time he's on air.
Hey, if you're.
That's it, Sean. That is it, Sean. Bill Romanowski. Okay, Bill now, Sean McDermott in the not Sean McDermott.
Sean McDermott?
Sean, well, that would be nice. Sean Payton in the offseason, and then hire Bill as your defensive coordinator.
If you think that John Gruden's emails have incriminating language in them, what's going to happen when people start combing through Bill Romanowski's?
Well, here's the thing. They don't even need to go through his emails. I think he has enough stuff publicly already that would probably, but anyways, that's my choice. But let's move on from the silver and black. Again, I'm going to say fire the coaching staff, try to get Sean Payton in the offseason. Bill Romanowski in the interim, as we've just worked out. Me and OC have worked that out on air. But let's move on to the rest of the league. I want to go to Dolphins Bears. Is this right? I think I read this. If I'm mistaken, once again, I'm doing the be my fact checker, please. Did Justin Fields set the record for most rushing yards in a game at $178 against the Dolphins? Is that true? Did he pass Mike Vick? Mike Vick never ran for more than $178. We don't know. Or did your microphone go up?
Well, now I'm looking it up. You do this all the time.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll filibuster. Anyways, the Dolphins win.
Justin Fields, the most yardage a quarterback has ever achieved in a single game in the National Football League is 178-yard performance by Justin Fields, topping the 173-yard performance by Michael Vick in 2002. Great year to graduate high school, by the way.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I graduated 2001, and we're the same age. I don't know how that works. Oh, yeah, I was early for my age. Are you not surprised by that? I would have guessed Vick ran for 200 in at least a game.
I'm very surprised by that. I thought that somebody would have had some fluke performance of 200 yards. There's been a lot of NFL games played, but this is not college football, so quarterbacks don't run nearly as often.
All right. Well, I was going to touch a lot on the Jeff Saturday hire, but we already covered that, kind of intertwining it with the Raiders talk. So let's move on to Chargers Falcons. I want to go back to this injury. We talked about this, I think, when he first got hurt like 3 weeks ago, OC. Justin Herbert and that rib injury. He was 30 of 43, 245 and a touchdown. They beat the Falcons in Atlanta 20-17. He does not look like the guy last year that everybody was probably prematurely anointing as a top 5 quarterback. But to you, and again, I go back to you and your various injuries, and I don't know anything about it. I never had a rib issue in my life. But is is he not looking as, because basically what you told me when we first talked about it is that you told me he's just going to have to manage it. He's going to be in pain all year. He can play, but he's going to have to manage it. So is that what we're seeing right now? Why we're not seeing him look as good as he did last year?
Yes. And that's like people forget because the news cycle turns over so rapidly, right? Everyone's forgetting that this is a guy who's got like a persistent nagging injury that puts you in a really bad position because it's truly not a severe enough injury that you can be like, all right, I'm out. I'm done. Okay. I'm going to sit out for a few weeks. His team needs him. The drop off between, your starting quarterback and your backup quarterback for the Chargers.
I couldn't name the backup quarterback for the Chargers, literally, if my life depended on it.
That's
But yeah, so I mean, so basically, give me a ballpark. What percentage of Herbert are we seeing?
Oh, I don't know the exact specifics of that injury, but like his injury, right? So less than 100 is where everyone's at when you get this far into a season, right? Everyone's a little bit banged up. Everyone's got a little tweak in the knee or a hamstring that's sore or whatever else. Yeah. But this is something that's in your core. It's like having a lower back injury, right? They're hard to see. They're hard to diagnose. They're hard to treat, all this kind of stuff. But it affects everything. It affects the way you move, the way you sleep. Like if you sneeze, it re-injures itself sometimes.
Yeah. And you get criticized. You get criticized if you sit out for it. But then if you play with it, you're playing at a much lesser version of yourself.
Exactly. And I think to the Chargers' credit, I think that they know that. I think his teammates know that. No, there's no like discontent and there's no, rumblings about what's next for him because everyone knows that he's fighting through the pain and he's going to get better and better throughout the season. I think like if you're actually paying attention, the prevailing like theme here is that Justin Herbert is still playing pretty well, despite the fact that he's significantly below that 100% threshold. And like, if the average quarterback in the NFL in whatever we're in week 9 is at like 85%, he's probably more like 70 or 65%. So if he's playing as well as he's playing, and it's certainly not near the ceiling he's capable of, but if he's playing this well with that injury, I think that Charger fans and everyone who's observing this should probably actually be like somewhat encouraged.
All
right. Chase Daniel, by the way, is who you have to go with if you put in your backup quarterback.
Not terrible. Certainly not good.
Terrible. And dude, talk about someone who's made 14 seasons in the NFL as a backup quarterback. He's made something like, I don't know, I'm going to look up his career earnings. It's amazing.
Wow. Yeah. All right. Last question on this because I don't want to make this like a medical show. But I guess my last question to you would be, if you are a Chargers fan or whatever, fan of the NFL and you're following stuff and you thought that Herbert was going to be a guy that was on the uprise and the Chargers were going to be contenders, blah, 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 blah. I guess what I would ask you, as you're saying he's getting better, there's also the chance of re-hurting it, right? Every time he gets hit. So how much more is he getting better and it's healing versus it getting worse because he's re-aggravating it or getting it re-injured? I know you can't answer that question, but I mean, isn't that something that you would have to monitor? Because you don't really know. Like you're saying he's healing, it's getting better, but I could also say, well, he got tackled for a loss or whatever, he got sacked and he re-aggravated it and it got worse. So it went from 60 to 40.
That's a risk, right? That's a risk anytime you play, even when you're healthy.
True.
You're one play away from being less healthy. And obviously for someone who's already aggravated an injury or already has something, you really got to be careful with it. But if you watch the way that he's played since the injury, like he runs out of bounds if he's going to run at all. He doesn't risk himself. He doesn't he's a smart guy. Yeah. And the team is managing things, I think, in the correct way. There's no designed runs for Justin Herbert in the offense right now. He's a guy that he knows he could be one of these 15-year QBs, starting QBs in the NFL, and he's not going to risk that for the 2022 season, but he is finding the balance and trying to help his team win. And look, they're still kind of in the hunt, right? They got a winning record. They're second in the division right now. People looking at them as, a viable wild card team at the very least. So he's going to continue to go out there, and they're not putting up like these crazy big offensive numbers, and they're not flashy right now. That's fine. This is the NFL. You don't need style points. You can win by 1 point every week and you still get a Super Bowl. And Justin Herbert is doing everything that his team needs him to do, even below 100%.
Yeah. 20-17 and also missing Keenan Allen. Shout out Golden Bears. So that's obviously had an effect on the offense. But let's move along to Ohio. I'm going to do my my first take, Stephen A. Smith hot take. Team I'm most confused by, Cincinnati Bengals. They double up the Panthers 42-21. Lots of talk from, I believe it was Monday Night Football when the Bengals lost to the Browns, and people saying that Jamar Chase has everything to do with Burrow's success. And obviously Mixon went crazy. 4 TDs on the ground, 1 TD in the air, and they beat the Panthers 42-21. But they're 5-4, OC. And I know that people make a lot of the Super Bowl losing team hangover or whatever, but where are you with the Bengals? Because frequently, at least early in the year, people talked about them in the same breath as the Bills and the Chiefs, and we'll get to the Bills here in a second with that injury possibly to Josh Allen. But what do you make of the Bengals?
I don't think we're making anything of them after a Panthers win. Panthers are a bad franchise right now, right? They're just a bad team. So, look, Cincinnati is faring kind of as well or even slightly better than most teams do following a Super Bowl loss. Only 8 teams in the history of the NFL have returned to a Super Bowl the year after they lost the Super Bowl. So this idea that you can build dynasties that where you start off losing a Super Bowl and then you go right back, that's false. That doesn't actually happen very often in the NFL. So look, they're a team with a lot of youth. Your starting quarterback is still very young. You're dealing with some injuries this year. I think Cincinnati's actually kind of ahead of schedule given what they've had to deal with, and they've got a winning record. They're you mentioned Mixon. Mixon, like that dude scored more fantasy points than anyone. I think only one person has ever scored more fantasy points in the history of fantasy football for his owners. So that's a fun little factoid for you.
Yeah.
But you've got these role players and you got these contributors that you needed to find outside of Jamar, right? Like you heard the commentary, you just brought it up. You had to find people that were going to be reliable producers of touchdowns, of yardage, and that's probably an important learning curve for Joe Burrow to be on right now. Who do I throw the ball to when I don't have the guy who's, a top 5 receiver in the National Football League?
Well, not only that, they were both national champions at LSU.
Yeah, how do I make up for the absence of a trump card, of a weapon that nobody can really account for? Right?
Yeah.
Great quarterbacks figure out ways to do it. He can't be called a great quarterback yet. He's obviously young, promising, incredible talent. But this kind of stuff, I think, is what puts you on track to end up being a great quarterback. So I'm marginally impressed with Cincinnati, knowing the history of teams that try to bounce back after a Super Bowl loss and knowing that they've had to be, figuring some things out this year. I'm not worried about them at 5-4.
Yeah, I guess I am worried about them at 5-4 because the AFC is a lot deeper than the NFC. But if this Josh Allen injury, which we'll get to, ends up being a thing, then I'd be less worried. What I'm really confident in is Joe Burrow. Like, I would love for that guy to be my quarterback if that was my favorite team. That I have more confidence in him than Brady and Rodgers at this point, and we'll get to Rodgers here in just a second. That's where I'm going to transition to. I'm trying to think of the guys. Patty Mahomes, I would have above Burrow. Josh Allen, if he's healthy, I would have above Burrow. But I think that's it. Like, I think I have him 3. And I think that's saying something. Anyways, Lions and Packers.
You'd rather have Joe Burrow than Lamar right now?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Packers, Lions. This was not like 53-49, OC. 15-9. Aaron Rodgers usually owns the Lions. They lose in Detroit. I don't think Aaron Rodgers had lost 3 games. It's been like 10 years since he lost 3 games, and then he lost 4 games. Now it's 5 games. I mean, the panic button should be fully pressed at this point.
So how many ways do I need to say on this podcast that Aaron Rodgers' best days are behind him? You want me to say Aaron Rodgers is cooked? You want me to say that Aaron Rodgers has lost focus? You want me to say that Aaron Rodgers doesn't have the necessary help around him? Like, how do you want me to say it? This should not be a surprise. It catches up to you at some point, no matter who you are. Okay?
Tom Brady's 50 years old.
Dude, and look what's happened to Tom Brady.
Hey, he came from behind and won his last game.
Yes,
against
correct.
the lowly Rams.
And now he's going to feel compelled to play for another 6 years because he's like, yep, still got it.
He does. He got to the playoffs last year.
Look.
Anyways, I don't think this is an Aaron Rodgers thing. This is a personnel thing.
He threw 3 interceptions.
Huh?
He threw 3 interceptions against the Lions.
Two in the red zone. I know. It was bad.
How are you going to say it's not an Aaron Rodgers thing when he's playing that poorly against the Detroit Lions, who are a laughing stock in the NFL right now? How are you going to, how are we giving Aaron Rodgers a pass on being bad this year?
Personnel and OC. I defy you to find a franchise, right? Okay, the Niners. You're a Niners guy, right? They had Montana and they had Young. They should have won more with Young, but Young was a piece of bleep. I hate him forever because he's like the stepdad that ruined my marriage between my parents, Joe Montana and the Niners. That's why I hate the Niners now. That's a story for another day.
Not that I'm still an awful take, but keep going.
No. What happened is my parents got divorced, Joe Montana and the 49ers, and this idiot Steve Young, this Mormon from Utah, came in and won one championship when they bought it for him. They bought Ken Norton Jr. They bought Deion Sanders. They bought Ricky Waters. He doesn't even deserve that. Monkey off my back. And when they beat the Chargers. Forget Steve Young. My point is, the Niners had 2. I will give Steve Young this. He is a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's good. 1 title when he should have had like 15.
I'm going to be part of this podcast.
If you have Jerry Rice on your team and you only win 1 title, you're a joke. He had Jerry Rice in his prime and he won 1 title. Anyways, let me move on. They had Montana and Young and they won 5 titles. The Packers had Favre and Rodgers, who anybody who watched any football would say are 2 of the best quarterbacks to ever do it. If not top 10, both, then top 15, top 20 at the worst. Both of them. And they have 2 titles. 2. You know why? Because Green Bay doesn't have an owner. They're owned by the public somehow or whatever the bleep. And they don't get anybody. They don't trade for anybody. They don't sign for anybody. They trade Devontae Adams, sign and trade, whatever. The point is they don't give Aaron Rodgers any damn help. And then they draft Love in the first round for what? Just to give Aaron Rodgers a 3-year, $150 million contract last offseason. They give him no help at all. So Aaron Rodgers has not been playing well. And I don't know if the psychedelics had something to do with it in South America in the offseason. But this is not an Aaron Rodgers problem. This is a Packers as an organization problem. And I'm done with my rant.
All right. Well, the organization should not have thrown 3 interceptions against the Detroit Lions. You're right. That front office should not have done that. You are 100% correct, sir.
All right. Fair enough. We'll gloss over Patriots whooping up on the by the way, I tweeted something. I said the Weeknd is now coaching the Colts. And somebody got a kick out of it. I thought it was funny. I rarely get the proper reciprocation of people finding my humor. So I appreciate it. Whoever that was on Twitter that said that gave him a kick. The Weeknd. Get it? Like the artist. The Weeknd, Jeff Saturday, Weekend. Yeah. Anyways, we'll gloss over that 26-3 thumping in New England, and we'll move on to Bills Jets. Twofold here, OC, so you can go on a long soliloquy. Not only the Jets being 6-3, which I don't think anybody saw coming, but the Bills losing now 6-2. But most importantly, what do you think is going on with Josh Allen? I've been scouring the internet like every hour pretty much, and there's really no updates on it. The biggest fear is a UCL injury. I don't know if I got that right. I did not major in science or being a doctor or anything like that. But that's the major concern, which could cost him the season. And then there's lesser concern of smaller injuries. But what did you make of Bills losing to the Jets in New York or New Jersey?
Look, that's more of a feather in the in the Jets cap than it is anything to panic about with the Buffalo Bills, right? I mean, they're still where they need to be. They're
if Allen's hurt,
well, right, but we're talking about this game,
okay,
right?
But now the Jets are only a half game out of first behind the Bills, and so is Miami.
And now you're worried about the Josh Allen thing. And look, if Josh Allen has the UCL injury and has to miss significant time, that's threatening to your 2022 season. That's especially with Miami and New York playing as well as they're playing. What do? Right? Do you do the okay, so let's say that he's got like a mid-level UCL situation going on. Right? His elbow is messed up. But you give him some pain pills, you give him whatever, and you let him play through it? Or do you say, no, we have a franchise quarterback here, and we're going to let this guy, even with two divisional opponents nipping at our heels, we're going to let this guy heal up properly and make sure that he is long-term, good to go, fully recovered. The thing that I've always thought about with professional sports, I want teams and franchises to plan for the future, but you can't assume that the future is going to be good, right? We may never pass this way again, is the phrase I always use. Like, you're never guaranteed to have any sort of dynastic hopes. You're never if you feel like your window with a young Josh Allen and the cap room to put real talent around him, if you feel like it's right now, then you got to put your foot on the gas pedal, and you got to try and win now and next year and whatever. And you're going to ask him, hey, let's push through. If this is just a pain management thing, let's push through this injury. But if it's anything structural, anything that could result in any sort of serious debilitating injury, then you just got to hope that your backup is good enough to get you some wins. And I don't think that's true for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. I wonder when faced with that, from everything I've seen media related, which you always have to take with a grain of salt, but he's a super competitor. So if they were going to take that route of playing it safe for the long term, that's going to have to be an organizational decision, because if you leave it up to him, I guarantee you he's going to want to play. And again, we're not going to know until we know the extent of it. Now, on one play, he, threw the ball in the ground basically because he had no arm strength and he looked terrible. But on the last play, which could have been a PI call to, I believe, Gabriel Davis, he threw it like 60 yards. He looked totally fine. That was after the injury, but he was grabbing at his elbow. And I mean, obviously the doctors are going to be able to figure that out better than anybody. Of course, if you look at the Tua Tagovailoa situation, maybe the doctors don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't know their ass from their hand. But the point is, it'll figure itself out. But I'm telling you, if it's left up to him whether or not he's sacrificing his future for the present, he'll do it. So unless the Bills step in and just go, look, I know you want to push through it. I know because it's different than the Herbert situation. This is not like a rib thing or whatever. This is like an elbow thing, and that can be really, really bad. That's all. We can move on, as you just left me there hanging, dead air. Not supposed to have that in radio.
Like you wrapped at that point nicely. What do you want me to say after that?
No, that's fine. Vikings Commanders. I don't want to talk about the game. Or we can talk briefly about the Vikings. They're 7-1. Don't believe in them at all. Do they have two of the best position players that you could possibly have, or skill position, as the people call it, in Dalvin Cook and Jefferson? Absolutely. Do I believe in Kirk Cousins? Absolutely not. 7-1. Could not find a worse 7-1 team, I believe, if I went back 10 years in NFL football. Don't believe in the Vikings at all. What I more want to talk about was him on the plane with his shirt off, wearing his teammates' chains.
Why do you want to talk about that? This is
okay. Number one, he looked ridiculous. I think
he knows he looks ridiculous. That's why he's got a big shit-eating grin on his face the whole time while he's standing there dancing. He knows that it's a joke. He knows that he's goofing around. No one with his sort of complexion is going to wear that level of bling and put that, like, he was having fun with his teammates on the plane And this is, I think, for if you're a Vikings fan, this is an important thing to see because Cousins has been that guy, right? Who you just have like, you've had to make these apologies for. He's been the Derek Carr for the, where you're just like, no, no, no. It's a good thing we spent that guaranteed money on him. No, no, no. He's talented. He's not the problem. Like his teammates still love him. They're having fun. They're winning. There's nothing wrong with this.
All right. I mean, usually I'm the optimist and you're the pessimist, so I'm surprised that you're looking at this with rose-colored glasses on. I found it to be pathetic. I think if you polled everybody on that team, do they have more or less respect for Kirk Cousins after his dancing with the chains on? I would think that they would say less. Maybe it was more. Maybe it was all fun. Maybe it was all good. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's all rainbows and unicorns.
Let's spend some time on this, okay?
Okay.
Let give me your like sort of mental picture of how that video came about in the first place. Okay, you think Kirk Cousins went around, he took his shirt off, all right, and then walked around to everyone who had jewelry on the plane and said, "Hey, give me that chain. I want to put that on. I want to do a little video." Like, how do you think this thing came about?
All right. Well, first and foremost, let's lay out that he was playing against the Commanders, worst name in the history of sports. You and I both agree. First step for the new owner of the Washington franchise is to change that name. They were playing the Commanders, who Kirk Cousins played for, and then wanted the contract, didn't get it, got it from the Vikings, and he had that famous viral video. You like that? You like that? So in the post-game huddle, when they beat the Commanders, he did, you like that? And they all did, you like that on 3. Then I think they got on the plane. Then I think they had some liquor. Okay? OC, I'm guessing they had some drinks. And then I'm thinking he went around drunk and asked his players who are from a more different environment. Let's just put it like that. Kirk Cousins is like an evangelist, crazy Christian. I don't want to get into religion, blah, 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 blah. But let's just say that.
How are you going to say that about Kirk Cousins when you're the biggest Derek Carr guy out there?
Well, yeah, but he's not evangelist. There's a difference. We don't need to get into religion. Anyways, he grew up a lot differently than a lot of his teammates. And I'm guessing he went around and asked them for his chains. And then one of the guys on the team was like, let's take a video. And then he danced terribly. And I'm just saying, I don't believe in Kirk Cousins. I can't wait for whoever they play at home, because they'll probably have a home field advantage. I can't wait for whoever they play in the playoffs. I'll bet I'm going to say this right now on the Silver and Zach podcast. I will bet $250 on the money line for whoever plays in Minnesota in the first round. If the Vikings happen to win that first round or second round game or whatever the hell it is, I will bet $500 to make up for that in the next game. The Vikings are not going anywhere. I could not believe in Kirk Cousins less. And that video, look, I love that you're optimistic about it and you think that the teammates were just having fun and blah, 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 blah. But that to me just emphasized all the flaws of why that guy is not a Super Bowl champion.
Okay. This is like the equivalent of Colin Cowherd saying he doesn't like quarterbacks who wear their hat backwards. Like, this is the dumbest thing to get worried about.
All right. Fair enough.
Kirk Cousins was having fun. And I bet what happened was somebody, they're playing the music on the plane. He's probably moving a little bit. And they're like, okay, Kirk, get up. Let's see. And then they start loading chains on him, right? He takes the shirt off. More people come over, put chains on him. There's no way Kirk Cousins is walking up and down the aisle being like, hey, give me your diamonds. Come here. Give me those.
Whatever. Let's move on. 3 more games, rapid fire. I got nothing here because I said that the Bengals are the most confusing team to me. The most confusing player to me, Geno Smith. Seahawks beat the Cardinals in Arizona 31-21, go to 6-3 in the division, which I know you're watching closely as your Niners had a bye, so we can't get to them. Cardinals now 3-6. And what are you going to do there? You gave Murray the big contract in the offseason. What are you going to do with the coach? And ultimately, OC, what the hell do you make of Geno Smith having like a rebirth?
It's awesome, right? I mean, so many times in sports, we write these people off, make them perpetual backups. We do this thing where you're just like, no, I don't think that guy's all that good, right? Geno Smith at West Virginia was a monster. And he didn't just forget how to play football. Fit is so important. Coaches fit, quarterbacks fit, getting the right tight end in the right system, getting the right running back in the right system. Somehow, against all odds, he found the right fit with Pete Carroll, and Pete Carroll found the right fit with him. And it's been a mutually beneficial relationship. They are very legit. They're all the way legit as a playoff team. Certainly, I don't know if I would say Super Bowl contender. I think there's really only a small handful of teams, like less than a handful of teams that I would consider Super Bowl contenders, and they're not one of them just yet. But it's awesome to see. Even though I hate the Seattle Seahawks whole vibe with all the bandwagon fans that jumped on in the mid 2000s.
Oh, come on. You don't like the 12? They have a counter up there for false start penalties.
Yes, I know. It's loud. Okay, we get it. You pump in noise, it's loud.
Great. Whoa. Has that been proven? Pumped in noise? Did you just make a false accusation?
It's I don't know how false that accusation is. I don't know if it's been proven or not, but it's common knowledge. We know that they
had an earthquake when Marshawn Lynch had that run against the Saints in overtime.
The Beastquake. We've all heard about it, okay?
Okay.
No, it's great. Good for the Seahawks. I think it's awesome.
You don't sound sincere at all. You sound like a Niner fan.
Exactly. Good for Geno. I genuinely like when people get a little renaissance, get a little resurgence in a career, especially after they've been written off, especially after people are just like, oh, no, that guy's never going to win anything significant, career backup, whatever. Good for you, Geno. That's phenomenal. That's fantastic. By the way, Kenneth Walker, their rookie running back, who was last year the Doak Walker Award winner, this dude is a beast of a man. He is a monstrosity running the football. And I know that the running back position has been de-emphasized in the NFL over the years, but that guy is a weapon, man. And that's a huge reason why the Seahawks and why Geno Smith can be comfortable with the balance of their offense.
Quarterbacks certainly look a lot better when they have a good running game behind them. Walker the third, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns in that win over the Cardinals. Now let's move to the Rams and the Buccaneers. Couple things here. One, Brady obviously dealing with this highly publicized divorce and basically choosing football over his wife and family. I don't know if you want to just put it like that or not, but he needed 58 passes to get 280 yards and a touchdown. They come back and beat the Rams 16-13 in Tampa Bay. And OC, I guess I am less interested in the Buccaneers because I think Brady will probably, even at 4-5, will get them to some sort of wild card game. They'll be in the playoffs. I don't think they'll win the Super Bowl. They may win a playoff game, or they might lose in the first round. One of those two. I don't think it's going to go too far for them. I'm more interested in the Rams, and the GM for the Rams, OC, got a lot of credit for wearing that shirt, F them picks, and they did get a title out of it. Don't get me wrong. But when you got to pay Darnold all that money, you got to pay Stafford all that money, you got to pay all the guys on that team, and you have no cheap contracts on your roster, because the more and more I look at the Rams are an anomaly to me, because most of the teams have quarterbacks on cheap contracts or running backs or wide receivers or defensive ends on cheap contracts. It's rare when you see maxed out cap room, contract guys that are getting all the money in the world and then winning. And this just seems like, to me, 16-13, it's not on the Rams defense. You hold a team to 16, you should win that game. It's on Stanford. It's the offensive line ultimately. But what did you make of Brady's comeback?
Well, like I said before, I mean, it's this thing that's going to be like, yeah, he still got it, right? Tom Brady still got it. Never mind the fact that they've been 26 consecutive drives that ended in a punt or a field goal. But hey, look, Tom Brady still got it, and that's been his calling card for the entirety of his career. That when you actually need, when the chips are down, you actually need to play. He's a guy who's capable of generating the play or making the offense move, and that's why he's going to be called the GOAT when it's all said and done. He's who's going to break his records? Who's going to be that guy? I mean, I don't think that person's in the NFL right now. I don't think the NFL is built the way that it is, or that it was when he and the Patriots were truly a dynasty. I think that there's too much movement now. I think that Patrick Mahomes is the closest analog to someone who we think is truly capable of doing that over the long term. But but they don't like the Chiefs don't build their roster the way the Patriots did. The Patriots kept rebuilding over and over and over with like these unsung heroes and these like gadget players, and Edelman, nobody else wants him on the roster, but he's going to be a Hall of Famer because of how he played in New England. Like Tom Brady's unique and special and wonderful, but he's not getting better at this point in his career, right? Which means the talent around him has to be better incrementally, at least week to week and year to year. And I don't know if we could say that about this Buccaneers squad. When you were just making the point about the Rams, the Rams got exactly what they wanted out of that like experiment they ran. They got a Super Bowl.
True.
Right?
Yep.
One Super Bowl championship carries you as a franchise for 15 years.
OC, I'm a Suns, Dolphins, and A's fan. I would take one title out of all three of those teams, and I'd be happy for the rest of my life.
If you told me that, if you told 13-year-old Sean O'Connell that I can trade respectability, decency, and competitiveness for the Utah Jazz, like trade that away. They're going to be terrible for the next 25 years, but you get one of those titles against Michael Jordan and the Bulls. I would have been like, yeah, cool, that's fine. I'll start rooting for him again when I'm 40.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So the Rams got exactly what they wanted out of that stuff. You don't typically see it work, where you bring in a bunch of veterans, you pay them a bunch of money, and you say, all right, we've got an all-star squad now. Let's see what we can make of this. Usually that team loses in the divisional round because there's more to football than just having, like, your team's got to be greater than the sum of its parts. I mean, that team, so I hope someday they make a movie about it. They literally called my friend off the couch in retirement and said, hey, we need a safety for this Super Bowl run. You want to do it? And they brought Eric Weddle back, and he played incredibly well through the Super Bowl run and won his first and only title in his career. That is a movie-quality situation.
Oh, yeah. Von Miller, too. Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham was in line to be the MVP of the Super Bowl before he got hurt.
The situation is a totally different deal where, like, it's almost bad for him. I think at this point, it's almost bad for him to have these moments and have these drives and have these game-winning opportunities where he's just like, yep, I still can do it at the level I want to do it at. Like, because
I don't agree with you on that. I think the Buccaneers situation is ironically very similar to the Rams situation where, and we talked about the offensive line with the Raiders ad nauseum, but both of their O-lines are just totally depleted. I think the Buccaneers lost 3 starters in preseason and training camp and stuff like that. And and the Rams O-line is a complete sieve or whatever the hell that word is, whatever leaks through continuously. Anyways, I'm going to gloss over Ravens Saints 27-13. Ravens beat the Saints in New Orleans. The only moment that I loved is that Lamar Jackson was going into the locker room and then took a step back and went back out and saw a sign that said, pay Lamar or something like that. And then he signed the sign and then gave it back to the fan. Thought that was funny. Going back to what you were saying that Sean Payton said that he's a free agent, I'm going to be a free agent. That should be interesting. I still think that the Ravens are going to pony up, just like I think the Yankees will pony up with Aaron Judge, not to cross sports. But Chiefs Titans, what I took away from this game, 20-17 in OC. Patrick Mahomes needed 68 passes for 446 yards. He talked later in the press game conference about needing a balance between the run game and the pass game. And the Titans were without Tannehill, who missed his first game. I think he set the record for most consecutive starts for the Titans. But he missed the game with an ankle injury. And the Chiefs at home only win by 3 and kind of needed a lot of help down the line. Kelsey, again, a monster day, 10 catches, 106 yards. But 68 passes, OC, 68 passes for Mahomes?
It's a lot. It's excessive. And he's absolutely right. You got to balance out. But this is the unfortunate direction that the NFL and football at large has pushed itself, right? Where we're getting to a point in football at the highest level where you have to have an elite quarterback just to win a damn game. Because everyone's 60-40 pass to run now. Everyone only uses the run to try and open things up in the pass game. It's bananas. I mean, the Titans, I guess, are kind of in the opposite realm there. They've still got a bell cow back who is a formidable force in the NFL, and they pay him like that. Everyone else has like de-emphasized the running back. I think too far. And at the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes, like, he's unbelievable, right? But you keep riding a horse that hard, and eventually it's going to lather up and die on you. 68 passes in a game is way too much.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, we're going to end with this. Rapid fire. We're just going to have you you're not a gambling man, are you, OC?
Yeah, I like to gamble.
Do you? Like, do you have like FanDuel or like do you gamble on like games? Like what game? I am shocked if you're a gambler. You gamble on games?
No, I don't bet on sports, but gambling is like, I play poker.
Oh, you mean like blackjack and poker? Okay, yeah, I got you. All right. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I'm like when in Rome. Like if I'm in Vegas, I'll play, Hold'em or blackjack or whatever, but I'm not like a gambler in general. But let's just do this for fun. Because I just want to see how random gambling is. Let's just see how you do. I'm going to give you every game, and you're going to tell me who you think. We got Falcons in Carolina for Thursday Night Football. Atlanta is favored by 3. Who do you got?
Atlanta.
Right. We got Browns in Miami. Miami is -3.5. Who you got?
Miami.
All right. Colts at Raiders. Jeff Saturday's debut on Sunday. Vegas -6. Who you got?
Don't let me down, Raiders. I'll take
All
her.
right. We got your Niners. Chargers at Niners. 5-0 night game. Niners -7 against Herbert.
The Niners are the exact wrong team for Justin Herbert to be playing when he's a little bit tender. So Niners.
All right. We got Seahawks at Buccaneers. The Bucs are -3, even though the Seahawks are 6-3 and the Buccaneers are 4-5.
I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks that we just talked about.
All right. Vikings at Bills. We have no idea what's going on with Josh Allen, but the Buffalo Bills are -4 at home against the Vikings and Kirk Cousins and his chains.
I'm going to take the Vikings, all because of Kirk Cousins' chains.
Lions at Bears in Chicago. Fields record-setting day last week against the Dolphins. The Bears are minus a field goal.
So bad. Bears.
All right. Then we got Broncos and the calogenetics or whatever it is that Russell Wilson did on the plane in Tennessee. We don't know about Tannehill, but Tennessee is minus a field goal, so they're favored by 3 points.
I just don't believe in the Broncos in any way.
All right.
Banged up, weird chemistry, so just hand the ball to Derrick Henry the whole game.
Jaguars in Kansas City. Kansas City minus 9.5. That's a high spread.
Ooh.
I wouldn't touch that game, but you got to pick all. You got to pick them all.
Patrick Mahomes throws 72 passes this time, and the Chiefs win and cover.
All right. We got Texans at the surprising Giants. Texans 1-6-1, 1-3 on the road. Giants 6-2, 3-1 at home. It is the Giants -5.
Giants.
Right. We got Saints at Steelers. 2 pathetic teams. Saints 3-6. Quarterback issues with the Red Rifle Dalton, and the Steelers 2-6, 1-2 at home. The Saints are favored by 2.5.
I'll take the Saints. They still got the Mormon Missile, Taysom Hill.
All right. And then we have just 3 more games. Cowboys at Packers in Green Bay, and Dallas is -5. The Packers have been that bad.
Gosh.
In Green Bay, -5. Wow.
I'm going to take the Packers to cover.
All right. I think you're right on that. Even if Dallas wins, I think it'll be by a field goal or less. Cardinals at Rams. The Arizona Cardinals in LA to play the Rams. The Rams are -3. They're favored by a field goal at home against the Cardinals.
So
both teams have been terrible. 3-6 and 3-5.
That means it's a pick 'em if the home team is
Exactly, because they give you a field goal.
So
yeah.
But I just think Kingsbury's like the worst or second worst coach in the NFL. So I'm going to go Rams.
All right. And then Monday Night Football, terrible team name in Washington against the Eagles. Eagles 8-0, obviously. Dolphins fans across the nation waiting for them to get their first loss. They play the Commanders at home in Philly, Monday Night Football. Philly is favored by 11.
I'm jumping on the Philly bandwagon, so I'll take the Eagles here.
All right, there you go. Well, we'll see how the hell you do. You might go like undefeated, and then like we can start like a whole crazy gambling segment of the Silver and Zach podcast.
Yeah, well, I hope so, because running through picks consecutively is not exactly compelling podcasting or radio.
No, I think it's fun when we get the results. Everybody's going to be on the edge of their seat. All right, that is Sean O'Connell on Twitter at Real OC Sports. I'm Zachariah on Twitter at Zach Sports, ZAK Sports. This has been the Silver and Zach podcast. OC, I'll see you next week.
All righty. Bye.
All right, Pippin. See you.